Have you ever stopped to think about how many heroes of Middle-earth shine under the spotlight, while others, equally grand, remain in the shadows? Elrond, the one who always seems to be behind the scenes, is one of them. And here's a statement that might shock you. Without him, many of the glorious feats we so admire would never have happened. That's right. Elrond is the invisible foundation upon which the greatest victories of the Lord of the Rings were built. While Aragorn wielded the sword and Frodo carried the ring, Elrond was crafting strategies, nurturing leaders, and creating refuges where hope and courage could flourish. But why doesn't he get the recognition he deserves? Maybe because he wasn't after glory, but results. Elrond was the mentor, the silent guardian working for the greater good, even when it required personal sacrifices. If you think you know everything about the Lord of the Rings, get ready to change your mind. Let's dive into the story of this fascinating elf and discover why Elrond is the most underrated hero of Middle-earth. But first, tell me, do you have the courage to challenge traditional narratives and see beyond appearances? If so, join me on this journey. Elrond wasn't an ordinary elf. His lineage was a true golden knot in Middle-earth's tapestry. Son of Eärendil, the mariner who sailed to the heavens to seek aid against Morgoth, and Elwing, bearer of the Silmaril, Elrond inherited the strength of men and the wisdom of elves. Imagine carrying the weight of two entire races on your shoulders. This mix of mortal and immortal blood made him a symbol of hope, a living reminder that unity can defeat even the darkest of enemies. But don't think his story started smoothly. Elrond and his brother Elros were captured as children during the destruction of their homeland. Raised by Maedhros and Maglor, sons of Feanor, they grew up amid ethical dilemmas and tough choices. Elrond chose to follow the path of the elves, while Elros opted for mortality and became the first king of Númenor. This pivotal decision illustrates how individual choices can shape collective destinies. And if you could choose between eternity and a mortal legacy, what would you do? Elrond carried more than just genetic heritage. He was a vault of ancestral memories. What he learned from his parents and mentors shaped his leadership over the ages. Eärendil, by sailing to the skies. With the Silmaril, not only saved Middle-earth, but taught Elrond that great sacrifices often lead to great rewards. Think about it. In your own life, how many times have the lessons of your ancestors influenced your decisions? However, his strength didn't come only from his lineage or learned lessons. It also came from his resilience. Morgoth was defeated, but the world was far from safe. Elrond took on his role as guardian, even when despair seemed to prevail. He reminds us that greatness isn't defined by blood, but by the choices we make in times of crisis. When we face challenges, we are all heirs to something greater, our own stories and the courage to live them. And so, Elrond became a convergence point in Middle-earth, bringing together the wisdom of elves and the determination of men. His journey is a powerful reminder that even in darkness, light can persist. Speaking of persistence, did you know he was also one of the pillars in the creation of Rivendell? But that's a story for the next chapter. Rivendell didn't emerge as just a simple refuge, but as a strategic response to the turmoil of the Second Age. Founded by Elrond after the fall of Eregion and Sauron's advance, this enchanted land became a symbol of resistance and wisdom in Middle-earth. Imagine a place where elves, men, and even dwarves could coexist, a sanctuary amidst chaos. Elrond knew that Rivendell shouldn't just be a physical place, but a living idea, unity and hope in dark times, and what a vision he had. Rivendell wasn't just a fortress guarded by mountains. It was a treasure trove of knowledge. Under Elrond's care, its halls housed books, songs, and stories from past ages. It was like Middle-earth's ancient Google, where kings and heroes went seeking wisdom. Can you imagine Aragorn, young and uncertain, finding his purpose there? Rivendell was more than stone and wood. It was the beating heart of a collective dream. Elrond also made Rivendell a meeting point for unlikely alliances. Remember the dwarves who set out with Bilbo, or the fellowship formed in the war against Sauron. Each visitor left with something more precious than gold: clarity about their mission. This leads us to reflect on the spaces we create around us. Do our homes or social circles foster the same kind of welcome and inspiration? But not everything was peaceful in Rivendell. With the constant threat of Sauron, Elrond had to balance diplomacy with defense strategies. He understood that Rivendell couldn't survive just as an isolated paradise. Action, planning, and influencing the outside world were necessary. Think of it as a lesson. Even the safest places need to adapt to a changing world without losing their essence. Thus, Rivendell became more than a refuge. It became the cradle of decisions that shaped the fate of Middle-earth. It's fascinating to see how Elrond, through his leadership, turned challenges into opportunities. Speaking of leadership, did you know he was crucial in the alliance that culminated in the final battle against Sauron? The story continues. Elrond wasn't just a counselor. He was a renowned warrior and strategist during the last alliance between elves and men. Alongside Gil-galad, he led armies against Sauron's rising power, risking everything to protect Middle-earth. Imagine being on the front lines at Barad-dûr, surrounded by darkness, with only the light of courage to guide you. No wonder he became a symbol of determination and resilience. The battle was more than a physical confrontation. It was a clash of ideas and destinies. Elrond knew that this unlikely union was the only hope against the enemy. He was essential in aligning divergent interests between elves and men, reminding everyone that true strength lies in collaboration. Doesn't this make you think of the times we had to set aside differences to achieve something greater? In Middle-earth, as in life, strategic alliances change the game. And of course, there were moments of sacrifice. When Gil-galad fell in battle, Elrond took on the weight of leadership, keeping the army's morale high even in the darkest hours. This act not only cemented his place as a leader, but also showed that the greatest leaders don't shy away from responsibilities, even when they come unexpectedly. It's a powerful lesson. In adversity, our true character is forged. The last alliance also left deep marks on Elrond's soul. He witnessed Isildur's refusal to destroy the One Ring, a moment that echoed as a reminder that victory is never absolute. This teaches us that even the most glorious successes can carry seeds of future challenges. Think about your own achievements. Is there something you left unfinished, something that could bring consequences later? Elrond returned from the war with physical and emotional scars, but with an even deeper understanding of Middle-earth's balance. He knew the fight against evil would be ongoing and that new leaders would need to emerge. It's intriguing to think about how he used this experience to shape the next generation, like Aragorn. In fact, this is where we see him once again becoming the silent guardian of Middle-earth's hope. And speaking of mentorship, his role as guardian goes beyond battles. Throughout the Third Age, Elrond took on the role of mentor, a guardian shaping Middle-earth's destiny behind the scenes. He didn't just gather great leaders like Aragorn, but was also an indispensable advisor to kings and warriors. Think of him as a lighthouse in stormy nights, guiding those who carried the weight of the world on their shoulders. Elrond knew that to protect Middle-earth, it wasn't enough to fight enemies. It was necessary to plant seeds of leadership. His role as a mentor went beyond wise words. He took Aragorn under his wing, teaching him about courage, responsibility, and sacrifice. Elrond knew the young heir needed more than military training. He needed to believe in his own potential. This kind of guidance reminds us that great leaders aren't born ready, but are shaped by those who see their value before they do themselves. Who in your life has played that role for you? Rivendell became a true convergence point for Middle-earth's destinies under his supervision. There, crucial decisions were made, like forming the Fellowship of the Ring. Elrond saw the importance of uniting diverse forces: hobbits, dwarves, men and elves, each bringing their unique strengths. This approach inspires us to value diversity in our own journeys. How often do we underestimate the power of unexpected alliances? But the role of guardian was also lonely. Elrond bore the burden of knowing that evil would always find ways to return. He fought not just with swords and strategies, but also with the patience and wisdom needed to maintain balance. This dedication teaches us that protecting something valuable often means sacrificing moments of personal glory. Have you ever stopped to think about what you're willing to protect in the long run? And despite all the weight he carried, Elrond never lost faith in Middle-earth's essential goodness. He knew his mission was to prepare the world for the day when elves would no longer be there to protect it. Speaking of farewells, his personal and sacrificial decisions, especially concerning his daughter Arwen, are a powerful reflection of the balance between duty and emotion. But that's a story for another time. Elrond is the embodiment of the balance between reason and emotion, and his personal decisions testify to his compassion. His relationship with Arwen is a clear example of this. Imagine the dilemma of seeing your daughter give up immortality to be with Aragorn, a mortal man. Elrond's heart was torn between paternal love and the duty to protect his lineage. This sacrifice teaches us that loving often means letting go, even when it causes pain. However, his love for Arwen never blinded him to the greater good. Elrond knew that her union with Aragorn was essential to strengthening Middle-earth. He didn't stop Arwen's choice, but ensured Aragorn was prepared to bear the burden of the throne. This act of balancing the personal with the collective is something we can apply in our lives. How can we make decisions that benefit both those we love and the world around us? Beyond his family, Elrond showed compassion for all the peoples of Middle-earth. He offered refuge in Rivendell, regardless of who sought shelter. Whether a dwarf, a hobbit, or a human, everyone found solace in his halls. This reminds us of the importance of creating safe and welcoming spaces for others, whether in our homes or our actions. How many times, in moments of crisis, has an act of welcome changed the course of your life? Elrond's sacrifices didn't stop with his family. He knew that his staying in Middle-earth was a barrier to his own rest and the continuation of his lineage among the elves. Still, he postponed his departure to Valinor, remaining as long as there were battles to be fought. This choice reflects a type of leadership that doesn't abandon its post until everything is in order. Think, is there something you still need to resolve before moving forward? Ultimately, his sacrifices reveal that a leader's greatness isn't in their strength, but in their ability to prioritize the greater good. And that's what makes Elrond such an inspiring figure. However, his decision to depart for Valinor symbolized the end of an era and opened a new chapter for Middle-earth, where men would take the lead. And it's exactly about this moment of transition that we'll talk next. Elrond's departure to Valinor was much more than a farewell. It marked a profound transition in Middle-earth. With the elves leaving the mortal lands, the world's fate finally rested in the hands of men. Elrond knew his presence was no longer essential, and that it was time to trust in the potential of future generations. This departure teaches us something powerful. There are times when we need to step aside so others can shine. This act of transition was laden with symbolism. By crossing the sea, Elrond left behind not just Rivendell, but also centuries of memories and achievements. It's like abandoning a home you built with your own hands to venture into the unknown. This is a reminder that, no matter how difficult changes are, they are essential for growth. In your life, what changes have you been postponing out of fear of leaving something behind? Elrond didn't leave without preparing the ground. He entrusted Rivendell and Middle-earth's destinies to leaders he had guided and shaped over the centuries. This careful preparation reflects an essential aspect of leadership, empowering others to continue the work. Imagine if in your life you could identify the right people to carry on your legacy. Who would they be? What would you need to teach them before moving on to a new chapter? But his departure was also filled with emotion, especially because of Arwen. By leaving his daughter behind, Elrond gave up a deep bond, but knew his decision aligned with the world's natural course. He understood that farewells are part of a larger cycle, something we all face. Think about the last time you had to say goodbye to something or someone. What did you gain from it, even in the pain? And so, Elrond left Middle-earth as a figure of transition, not of finality. He trusted that men, hobbits, and other peoples were ready to write their own stories. His journey is a reminder that life's cycles always bring new opportunities. Speaking of opportunities, have you ever thought about the impact he had even after his departure? Maybe it's time to revisit the idea of Middle-earth's underrated heroes. After delving deep into Elrond's legacy, the question remains, what will you do with all this knowledge? Are you ready to apply the lessons of this underrated hero in your own journey? The balance between reason and emotion, the power to empower others, and the courage to embrace change are qualities anyone can cultivate. And you? Are you willing to lead your own Middle-earth with Elrond's wisdom and courage? Think about the decisions you've postponed or the sacrifices you fear making. Isn't it time to face those challenges the way Elrond faced his? The biggest mistake would be underestimating the impact you can have, just as many underestimated Elrond. After all, true heroes don't always seek the spotlight. They build the foundation for others to shine. Now, I invite you to take the next step. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, we explore epic stories, leadership lessons, and hidden secrets of Middle-earth that can transform your view of the world and yourself. And tell me, which part of Elrond's journey impacted you the most? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments.